Welcome to Nature's Neighbor. I am your host, Melanie Blinkenship, joined with my co-host, Josh Carmichael Environmental. Welcome to this last Monday of April, and I'm just hoping that when this April month is over, we can just start over
on to the next month
and try it again.
Mayday, let's go.
Oh, Mayday. I'm seeking. So, that's kind of the day. How funny is that we would even talk about that? Because that's honestly, yes, the feelings
That's how you're feeling today.
Yeah, so it's definitely I'm in a
business
mode.
or community or
All the above.
family, all of it.
All the above.
Yeah.
I went to a beautiful celebration of life for a neighbor yesterday who, it's not just a neighbor. So there's something about where we live, right? My husband grew up on land, right? And I grew up on land, but I grew up on the east side of Paso. He grew up in the west side of Templeton.
Classic story.
Right? And so he had this neighbor that he grew up with. His name was Jack.
Mm-hmm.
Jack was this man who was single, but, he had a girlfriend in and out, and then a girlfriend with a son named Matt, who ended up moving to the canyon and got to run the muck with my husband in the canyon. And it's kind of funny because, just where we live and Jack was my other father-in-law, right? Like Clint, our second date, we went to dinner at the house that I now live in, and we had dinner with my mother and father-in-law, and my future nieces and nephews were there. And it was fun because Clint introduced me to his dad. I knew his mom, but I didn't know his dad. I met his dad. But quickly after that, I met Jack that same night because it was that important.
It's like the adopted family we all have.
Yeah, it was that important.
I have a lot of people like that too.
It was that important for him to introduce me to Jack. And it was fun because, we grew up together. Clint and I grew up and moved away, started our lives, else, and then moved back to the ranch. Jack was in and out of the canyon, lived in Costa Rica. We have, he had other tenants, Marcy and Niels Collins, the owners of Lone Madrone and Bristol Sliders.
Yeah.
They lived in the canyon.
Cool.
So there's like this cool kind of collection. But everybody talks about the survival of living in this canyon, okay? So Matt, the stepson, and we'll say, that moved to the canyon with his mom and lived with Jack. Jack took him in as if he was his own. But the craziness is the first thing that Matt's new beautiful wife came up to me, and she was talking with my other neighbor that was there, and she was talking about how much Jack incentivized Matt to, no matter where you are, learn how to adapt and grow, or if something catastrophic happens, figure out how to make the next step.
Survive,
right?
yeah.
And she was complimenting Matt that he got this different job and how hard it is to get a job like this, and how he has just taken it and made it even better. And it's awesome because, to hear a wife talk about her husband like that is pretty awesome,
yeah, it's
right?
Great, yeah.
Who else talks about their husband like that? And I'm going to tell you, it's like there's something about that canyon. Yes, Jack was the teacher, the protector, the incentivizer. My in-laws were the same. The protector, the incentivizer, the parents, right? But there's something about the land that you grow up on, because there's things that Matt and Clint can do that most other men cannot do because of the survival that it took to live on that land.
Adaptations there, yeah.
And how we laughed about, they didn't have streetlights come on. They had stars.
Yeah.
They had, and where I'm going with this is like, what is my purpose? What is, the next generation's purpose? I shared quickly that we don't need to talk about right now what I'm feeling right now, and in my career, but also in the steps of my next path, right? Or am I going to continue down this path, or am I going to take another path?
Sure.
Right?
What direction?
What is the purpose? The biggest purpose of my life has always been live simple, live within my means, stay grounded within the soil that I grew up in. Obviously, that's why I'm still here. I grew up in Paso. I don't want to leave Paso or Paso area. But the other is now I don't want to leave the legacy of what my husband has carried on through me now with our children. And it's funny because all these careers, all this drive of what I'm working for, right? That's what I'm working for.
Mm-hmm.
So how do I continue to be who I am, continuing to work in the world that we're living in right now? And why I'm saying that too is like the things that are coming at us sideways, crooked, nothing makes sense in the way of business.
Regulation or
business, but also community.
Climate,
Culture. I was supposed to be at a committee meeting today for our local school district. I got stuck at work and I couldn't make it. But you know how sad this is when I'm going to tell you? They couldn't vote because we didn't have a quorum. We didn't have enough people show up to manage money that is going to our school districts, right? Because I got stuck at work, nobody else, there wasn't enough other people to back me up.
Someone else hadn't also showed up.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like, what are we doing if we're not working together?
What are the priorities?
I did everything I possibly could to get out of work to go and to be a part of my community, to be able to help guide our community and make decisions based upon our community, so we stop kicking the bucket down the road and having somebody else pay for the stupid decisions that we made today. I don't want my kids to have to pay for them. That's what I'm trying to do. But yet, where's everybody else? Nobody's showing up. Yes, I am on another board, Latino Outreach Council board. Why do we have to sit and talk about events and fundraising and all this stuff when, again, Latino outreach? Why are we worrying about money when we can't even get out and do Latino outreach? You see what I'm saying? Like, it's like, what is our purpose? Why? I'm going to say another board I just resigned for. You know why? Because I couldn't handle the racism within the membership towards other members, but also I could not take that we had to worry about fundraising instead of going and doing fun projects as a community and building something positive as a community, because we're too busy worrying about fundraisers, insurance, litigation, liability, permits, who's going to do this, who's going to do that. We couldn't even do anything fun, but yet we were fundraising for scholarships. Scholarships that last year we had 7 that the students never even came and picked up.
Wow.
7 scholarships that students never came and
Wow,
picked
they
up.
applied for and didn't come back for.
So why are we fundraising?
Wow.
Why can't we
So
go out
there's a
and do
breakdown
something?
through every level
Why can't we go out into the community and do something positive?
for the same amount.
But the thing
Yeah.
is what was my gripe? Employment, people following through, Miguel sharing in his conversations and his work, vendors, employees, maintenance people, everything. It's like people are not following through. Yes, our world is crazy. There is a lot of weird things going on and a lot of uncertainty of every step that we take. But shouldn't we in our own system be able to have community and backing and communication? But no, we're all bogged down in what? What is important? Mine is my family. Mine is my soil. Yes, I will fight like heck to protect my soil and my family. But at the same time, I can't protect my family in a community that won't follow through or hold accountability or communicate of things that they actually need. I don't need to hear the drama. I don't need drama. Just keep your own drama to yourself. But if you want to
so
actually
what's
build
disengaging
something,
people today, from taking the accountability that, we need to have our system stay, current or, really on time or on track or, in place so that we can have that dependability. So I think people are thinking that somehow this was built, by, literal ghosts. I mean, who's coming up to fill the shoes of the people that have left and whose backs we're standing on? Usually, it kind of goes by age in your community. You're young and then you become
the biggest thing I'm seeing though
class
too?
and then elder.
Our community knows how to take money, but they don't know how to make money. I'm seeing these, we talk about illegal pop-ups or illegal businesses or even businesses that are popping up, right? They're like new businesses. You know what I'm noticing? They know how to take money. They got a little bit of credit, or they have a co-signer, and they get a loan, or they have a dad that's that's gonna pay for it, right? Like, no, everybody knows how to take. Yes, they take the money, but they don't know how to make the money. And so this is what I'm saying. Nobody knows how to build anything. Nobody knows how to hold on to anything.
The skills
Nobody knows how to fight for anything. And that's where I'm really seeing. It's like when I'm watching the excuses and stuff, and it's like, well, wait. If you actually had to make money, you wouldn't be talking like this. If you actually had to pay your true bills, right? Oh, I can't pay that, and walk away. Or, oh, I took a loan out, can't make that payment. Do you know how much I'm hearing that around here now?
People don't think about the defaulting and what's going to happen.
They always think somebody else is going to protect them. They kick the bucket down the road.
That is a real generational thing, right? Like that's fading, and that's why a lot of the trades are starting to fall off, like farming, like construction and plumbing and everything, where people aren't going into these fields because it's more work than they want to, put in, or they're not understanding how to hold the bag of the whole thing. And it's sort of like the saying when we would say, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And now it's like maybe a lot of these things are just falling off. Places are closing. People are not filling the voids. People are not continuing the services, or providing the products or the commodities and things that we're used to having. And more it's like becoming sort of this, it's their problem, an other's problem, right? And so our communities, just like losing our granary. So now our granary's outsourced somewhere further away, than it was here. And all these things are adding up to where,
how about insurance in Templeton? I feel for anybody that's in the renewal. How about insurance in Templeton because of that granary fire?
Yeah.
People don't realize, it affected them, but where's my fundraiser to pay my insurance?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, but I'm serious.
No, everyone's in that same boat now. They all have to pay more because someone wasn't taking accountability for where their kid was.
Yeah.
There's honestly, so much that...
You talk about, regulations of, why do we have this many regulations, or why is insurance like that? And it's because the accumulation of stupid has reached the max. Right? We are paying for somebody else's stupid. That's what we're doing.
That's what government oversight is like, we'll watch the ones that fall off the path so that, you got to keep the loonies on the path, like the song says. So it's really, getting, just I think the more and more that is, localized, I think the more and more you do get some kind of accountability being, taken for, what we're doing. If you're feeding people, if you're providing, service for people, you have a little bit more, within your hands to say, this is the value of it. Mm-hmm. Will the community, will the culture, continue to invest and put their money into the right places? I think it's twofold. Because, if you're going to go out there and you're going to build something and say, here it is, here's everything that I can do for you with this service. If people aren't willing to value that service, then that service is going to go away because it's going to get regulated out of existence.
Yeah, but I think also too, I think the majority of society that could actually go out and do the work have been somehow available to, I wouldn't say it's easy money, but it's money that enables them. It's given a loan here, or somebody gave them something here. There is no cutoff. People actually they gotta actually figure it out, and I gotta go build something. I gotta go make something. And I'm saying this is because look at what our country has come from. Where did our wealth actually come from? Our wealth actually came from poor people. Poor people actually getting creative and doing something and building something and taking pride in that and building it and carrying it on.
Well,
right?
From raw resources, which are first touched by, it's like every time you eat food, you're like, migrants touch this food in this country.
Exactly. But at the same time, again, exactly what I'm saying. Poor people have picked our food, right? To some extent. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, where have we drawn this line where we, no matter who we are and what income we are, we've become this society that it's somebody else's problem. It's somebody else is going to fix it. It's somebody else
who's going to clean it up.
It's their fault, not ours.
Somebody else is going to pay for it.
Yes. Where have we become this? Let me go.
The housing bubble. Somebody else fixed it, right? The government had to step in. I feel like everything's been pushed back to the point where our cycles of having those recessions and the Great Depression, a lot of fast food came out of that. Mm-hmm.
Why?
I think we might be overdue.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're right. Innovation is what will lead people to change, and we've saved all of, like the big banks, and we saved big auto, and we saved all these things over the last couple decades,
Band-Aid up a Band-Aid.
right? That was
Kicking the bucket down the road, kicking it down,
I'm
kicking
sorry.
it down.
If Ford can't make it, then Ford should have been cut up into 10 different businesses. And then that's where you would get the renewal of, innovation and, movement of money. Because if all the money's ending up in the same hands, they're not letting it go anywhere. So now all of our money's frozen. The trickle down economics, all it did was just freeze the whole system because they didn't trickle down any water to flow, resources and money through
that's
different classes.
California too. We can talk effectively, but California in itself, I shared on social media a couple of days ago, the Fresno Bee is finally writing about how much farmland in the last 6 months, last year, last 2 years have been sold off.
Turned over. Oh.
Sold off, right?
Sold off.
Okay, so listen, everybody, I'm like, do you realize
For
how many,
development and not
how many
farming?
farms are gone? I asked this question, and they say, well, what do you mean? I'm like, they've been sold off. Well, what's the new owners going to do? I'm like, they're ripping it out. Why are they ripping it out? Water investments, water rights. That's what they're buying them for. They're buying them for development because we need to push more multifamily homes, and yet we have
For more poor people that can't afford their own home.
Yeah, I just saw in the local news that we have all those apartments and multifamily homes on the east side of Paso that have went bankrupt,
abandoned,
and
yeah.
nobody's been paid in any of this project since before Christmas. Why are we building houses when we can't even afford to build them? Where's all that resource going? And how many I can tell you about their Los Osos?
That
I'm going to talk about you.
corporation's sin.
Why are we going to allow 1% building when we haven't even upgraded our sewer yet?
What sewer?
Los Osos.
Yeah, we did.
Not enough to allow more building.
Yeah,
The
no, the
sewer's
sewer's there. I think the water resources are tougher because of the saltwater intrusion.
Well, but how
So I
about
think they're
water
leaning-
is sewer?
But they're
right?
leaning into, state water. They're probably gonna develop it out from underneath
Where do you
us.
think state water comes from? You're not taking it from our basin.
They already built the pipeline.
Yeah, I know.
So,
But
what I'm saying
is
is they're going to get their money. They're going to develop that town, and then unfortunately what they're going to do, they're going to develop in a way where the locals won't be able to stay, or the poor people, because there's going to cost so much to use those new resources. They froze building out there because people would start building. They won't let us have ADUs or tiny homes on wheels because they know everyone will do it. Because everyone out there is capable and everyone is willing to take accountability for their own, property and resources. And so that's what we need to do is we need to free up regulation that allows the public to have more access to do their own development. Right now, everything is just held so tight and only the money goes to the places that the rich people want the money to go to.
But I agree with you because there is this top system.
The elite 1%,
But
we'll call
the thing
it.
is have you driven around lately? Cody and I were just coming back from Creston, and we are
It
noticing.
was a good lap of the county yesterday.
We are noticing a lot of mobile, non-structured mobile homes popping up everywhere.
Yeah, ADUs, yeah.
Yeah, but they're
Or
they're
even
not-
fifth wheels.
They're not permitted by the way that it's set up, right? Okay, so this is what I'm saying. So what is a permit when you can drive around? And yes,
Sure.
you and I would go out and get a permit, right, and do this legally, but yet, why would
What
you?
stops people
what
from being
stops
able to do
people?
those?
And it's the same thing. It's all these illegal food and produce. Why do I have to have a food safety permit to sell a tomato when
Yeah.
the guy down the street keeps setting
Yeah.
up and he's cutting pineapple and papayas and everything on the corner right here, and I'm looking at all my upgrades that I have to have in my little kitchen so that I can sell a tomato, right?
Or cut some fruit.
Or cut some fruit for somebody, right? What's the point, right?
Yeah,
This is what I'm saying.
well-
Yes, for the ones that want to do it legal,
Yeah.
you're gonna pay. The ones you don't want to do it legal, I had the garden group. I had to tell the girls, you guys you don't have a nursery stock license. You don't have all the proper procedures and protocols in place to legally sell those plants in a solo cup.
Yeah.
So you can't I'm not going to be the one that's going to tell you no, yes or no, but I'm going to tell you can't do it here.
Yeah.
Because why do I have all the permits, insurance, and I'm opening up to have a garden group, yes, to have discussion and share and build resources within the system. I am not opening it up for them to do any legal business out of my legal business.
And to undercut your business that
No,
you're
she's
going
more
through that.
expensive than me. So that's why I'm laughing. I'm like,
Well, that's
it.
what we call the underground economy. And we would deal out a lot with, the CSLB, like California State Licensing Board, and they would want to set up stings because they're like, who are these people who are coming in and doing projects for people who then have no accountability if something goes wrong because they're not licensed, they're not bonded, they're not insured. And so people are willing to take those risks until something goes wrong. So it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't, and people want to, kind of have their cake and eat it too. So how do we
when resources
move
like
it?
Power and gas and water and all these things are for the legal guys are getting more expensive, right? Permits, insurance are getting more expensive. Why would you want to do it legal when there's so many legal that are doing it right next to you?
That's the question mark, right? Like, where are we at with this? How do we find the way to shift responsibilities where they should best be fit? And I think, that's what we were talking about, like having employees and all those things and like trying to figure out how's the best efficient way that we're going to get this job done and who's going to do what and when. And I think that has really been lost in our, our culture, in our state, in our country. And like we said, there's all these ways that regulations going up, materials are going up, labor's going up. Where's there anybody who's going to make a living in between, these issues? So if we don't balance it, we are not going to have a very, viable economy.
Yep.
And so then you have two routes. Do you start just going and it's like, okay, everything's free. We don't use money anymore, and we just buy, red Solo cups by trading them, produce for this or time. So
you're starting to stand in front of people, but you're going to start to realize, as much as I have for many years, free is still too expensive for most people. I'm just going to say.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's one.
They're like, how much is this? I'm like, I'm giving this to you. Whoa. Well, no, really, how much is? I'm giving this to you. It's free. Well, no. I am giving you a flat of eggs. Do you know how many flats I gave away on Saturday? And nobody, I had a gentleman who wanted to argue with me because he thought something was wrong with them because I was giving them away for free.
I want to kill you.
Yeah,
eat
here.
These eggs.
Yes, I'm going to give it to you for free.
You.
Like,
that'll get them. That'll show them.
But that shows society, though, because yes, that is what it's become.
So he wants regulation in place to make sure you're not going to kill him with a carton of eggs that you're giving him for free.
Yeah, with free eggs, and that's where I'm like.
So that's what we're saying. There's two directions.
Well, and yes, the problem is too, and I'm saying most. Okay, here's this circle of people that are free is too expensive, right? This group now is the ones that understand why Melanie is giving free eggs away right now, and it's because the chickens are really laying really heavily. This is, what do I always say? If I had 1 million eggs in November, I could sell them all at top dollar and everybody's going to buy them because everybody's chickens start decreasing, right?
Yeah, and they want to bake and they want to do this and that.
But it's so funny how hard it is to give away free eggs. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm caught up, guys. Like,
you missed it. You missed your chance.
But at the same time, like, that is,
should have been here yesterday.
This is what I'm trying to explain to you. It's like the difference in dynamic has shifted. Like, there's some
just understanding, and like we always say, some level of accountability of saying, what does that vendor, that store, that person, that neighbor go through to provide this service, and are we giving them value, or are we trying to undercut them because everything else has been undercut in society, and so they expect everyone to like find the loophole. Melanie, look at what Walmart's done. Look what these people have done. They find loopholes to get, their costs down. But what they do is they take it out of their employees,
that's called
healthcare. They take it out
Wall
of
Street. Wall Street. And to understand even that, like the Grocery Store Manufacturing Association, right? So the way that everything is on contract, right? And I guess I chose not to be that kind of farmer. But if I would have been a contract farmer, I would have just grown. I would have known exactly.
Known your output,
no matter what it cost me, it was going to be that I was going to get paid that much. And that is, again, that incentive is kind of crazy because people don't realize all these other little things that are going on with these farmers that they're doing in order to meet that contract price.
Reward,
their side. They're
just hoping it rains and the gets cold enough, it gets warm enough.
Peter to pay Paul, and that's why the heart attack rate has, of age has dropped in those contract farmers, right? But at the same time, so then if you want to be a part of Walmart's, Trader Joe's, any of these guys, and the way that they contract the groceries,
whole paycheck.
It's all a contract deal. It is all how Wall Street is going to trade your stuff. how it's going to market your stuff. How are they going to give you this is so beautiful and pure, but inside it's just old, filled with chemicals.
Yeah, as long as they can make their money.
Yeah, but it
that's
says
what their
organic
bottom
on the
line
outside,
is.
right? Like, and even people back in the day that were so avid about, they were going to only eat pure food. They were going to, only eat organic, right? I'm watching even them go, yeah, I'm tired of the fight. You can't
$5 tomatoes, I ain't doing it.
Beat it. If you can't beat it, join it.
Yeah.
That's kind of.
People are selling out. People are tired. People are fatiguing, I guess, from fighting so hard and so much. I mean, just, looking outside. Someone was kind of bringing this up, like in a post or a story, and some back and forth of like, wow, look at the destruction of our environment. When are we going to get to a point of, really working with Mother Nature and like working to heal Mother Nature more than we're hurting Mother Nature? How do we write that sort of portfolio of investments and things in our economies and say, this is what we can do to have a certain amount of good air quality, and clean air, water, and food resources available so that we have them at a livable, cost.
During COVID, I started a Growing Food with Nature group on Facebook, right? Because we couldn't join. So, you can find me on Facebook if you want. It's Growing Food with Nature and Keeping Nature Safe. That's what the group is called. And what it was I formed that group because we all couldn't gather, and we were all just asking questions on how to get resourceful within our own means, right? And it was crazy because that group really took off with a lot of really good people that were afraid to go out, right? That were afraid, but they were seeing things that they needed to do in their own land that they couldn't see before COVID because
they were too busy
because they
running
were too
around.
busy.
Yeah.
COVID made them
Yeah.
stop and relook,
Yeah, I
right?
love that. Yeah, that was the big point of it.
So I started that group so we could resource in between each other. Well, I just, things are coming and going in my life, right? And so I just remembered at this time during that group, people kept asking me, why do I have bugs? Or why is my plants doing this, right? So I just put a post out there in that group that said, instead of looking at it as a problem, looking at is how do I translate what's
Problem
really
is the solution.
what is really going on.
What is it telling me?
Yes, and so I put it
What
out there, and
pattern?
it's funny that group is kind of opened up again. Like people are starting to look, and then I did a Friday flower photo drop of just any flower I saw on Friday, and I put the picture on that group, and it's fun, but it's also I'm starting to realize that people are uncertain again. Like, are we headed towards COVID again? Oh, God forbid.
Or recessions.
Or recession, or what are we, like, people are starting to get to the point again of this uncertainty. COVID was
Deeper
a horrible
uncertainty.
situation.
Okay.
But at the same time, look what I'm saying in the positive.
Do you think there was resiliency that came out of it more, or you think less accountability because people just?
I think there's more resilience.
Gave up?
There's more resilience of the systems that we should have been able to trust. Public health, like, government. Like, why would a government go, you're essential and you're not, right? Like, where did that become? Like, and yet we have all the documentation and proof that the government officials were allowed to use all of their
Staff.
non-essential businesses as their perks, right? Like, so who are we and what are, look at the mask mandate. Like, that was, come on, you guys, like, really? You know what I mean? Like, so is there resilience? I think if something were to really happen now, which I think it is, but we just don't recognize it yet, I don't think people are going to comply as easily as they did. I think that more time needs to be passed so people will forget. But
especially if it's not like a medical scare, and it's just more of a social, economic scare.
How about the fact is, what was the real reason why they needed to shut things down? Because they kept saying our hospitals and our medical staff were unequipped to be able to handle
Too
masks.
exposed,
But look what's happened since then. It's COVID, it's cancer, and look at, nobody's talking about the fact that we have less doctors now than we did before COVID. Do people not talk about how many doctors' offices do we sit vacant over there by our hospitals now?
So it's like our farmers and our professionals.
It's not
they're
just
going
farming.
down.
That's
They got tired of it.
yeah.
Highly skilled positions are getting
How about when
unfilled,
my mother-in-law was in the hospital?
and AI is taking
Local,
over.
I talked about, like certain types of treatment that used to be provided. You know what they told me? That with the amount of people that are on different types of medical insurance now, they don't get paid for those kind of things anymore, so they just don't even offer it. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, that works. Yes, but we can't get paid to do it. We're not here as a benefit to, we're here to, we got to pay for the systems that we're using. And the nurse flat out said, they got rid of it because they're not getting paid.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then one of the ER doctors, I'll never forget, he goes, I'm not staying here very long. He goes, this area especially, he goes, I was floored to actually see how long it takes before our hospitals get reimbursed from our insurance companies. And I'm like, that to me is like food and health.
Yeah.
Right? Again,
Well,
I don't want
more
to
than
go
that.
there.
More than that.
So I'm trying to do everything I can to never
Yeah,
go there.
I always say, food, healthcare, education, housing, like those are places we don't need to put money into.
Well, I'm going to
They
tell
need
you,
to
we
be
didn't
things that
have a
you-
quorum at a community education or school system because I couldn't make it.
Yeah.
So again, where's the priorities to everyone else? Where are all the kids that are going to Templeton schools? Do they not realize what's happening? Do you want to live in Templeton? Do you want to put your kids in Templeton?
You have a smaller board than normal, that's what you're saying too, where
But, I
anyone
mean,
misses
nobody's
a meeting,
showing
all of a
up.
sudden you can't do it.
Nobody's showing up. Nobody's backing each other
Yeah,
up. And then the sad thing is, it's like these are measures and bonds that were passed that are put on our taxes.
Yeah.
So who can afford to keep adding more of these and still afford to live
And not
here?
allocating it.
No, and not being able to have a voice at the table of how it's really being allocated,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
What are we doing with it? What are we not doing? Oh, the attorney's in there telling us, well, you can't tell them that, but you can tell them this. And it's like, oh my God, what are we doing?
Yeah, so we need reform, through insurance and government, and we
can't
need
when people don't
people
hold accountability
with
for their own self.
Well, that's interesting because I always say it should start from the bottom up. But if we're not going to get enough people to push the question, that's sort of what the French Revolution was like. They had the revolt and uprising of the people come from, the poor to execute the rich, and it was like, hey, we have demands, we have reasons that we want this, but now I think you can't even get the public that, just activated to do what's needed. Like they'll protest, but people don't want to go in and show up and be like, hey, okay, let me be accountable for how this money's being passed out and join, the board or the decision-making body or the group that needs to allocate things like
You
that.
realize, okay, if you really
So
didn't
that's
want
tough.
a certain person to be reelected as president or governor, do you realize how easy it is to manipulate? Can you imagine if Trump said that, okay, to anybody that is illegal in this country, if you vote Republican, I'll get you your legal citizenship? Think about that. If the new governor that wants
But
to
then
be,
all the white
if they-
Republicans wouldn't vote for him.
If they just stood up and said, I'm going to lower gas prices and help minimum wage.
Didn't you
Can you
say
imagine?
that?
No, I'm just saying. But that's
Well, I think you
literally-
delivered
that's-
on it, but I think you
that's
did
all
say
they would
that.
have to say, and they would get voted for, right? Am I wrong? Tell me I'm wrong.
Isn't that usually what happens every
Yeah.
time?
So it's not about one side versus
No new
the other.
taxes, read my lips.
No new taxes. Yeah,
What's
see?
the question of the report is, what's your stance on insert here?
Yeah.
And then they answer.
Politically
say-
correct. Yeah, politically correct. And it's like,
They'll be like,
but that's what I'm
how
saying.
dare you ask a question like that?
People
I wanna
protest.
talk about the weather.
People stand up, but it's like it's so easy for diversion when they just say the one thing that and it's like they say it, but they don't do it. And this is what I'm saying.
Yeah, execution is
People
really
say they want to show up
missing.
because they want to feel a part of it. This is a part of my whole societal unaccountability thing because I'm going to show up. Look at me. I did this protest or I did this. Okay, but do you realize the amount of gas you just spent to go to that? Do you realize the amount of plastic that the oil that went into making that sign, to making that, like, do you see what I'm saying? Like,
But what did it change? Because that's the thing, right? Is you have to change the rules by changing the rules or changing the people that make the rules. And so that's where you have to put the time in. You have to find a way to.
Why aren't they showing
through
up
the voting,
at committee
through the-
meetings? Why aren't they showing up at county board of supervisors meetings? Why aren't they
Running
understanding?
for office.
Why aren't they?
Yeah, why aren't we
they
taking
running-
care of
Yeah, because that distracts
the
us.
needs?
It's easier to be anonymous.
This is distracting and this
Well,
and deterring.
maybe that's,
Yes,
look at,
you're right.
oh my God, we just figured it out. We didn't have phones in any other generation. That's why things got done.
Yeah.
We have the distracted by distractions from distractions. You know, that's like a really good quote of just like E. Cummings. But I think that the distractibility has led to a reduction of productivity, and it's filtering like a cancer through everything we do, through all ages, through all generations, through all systems. And so if we're going to be able to do, you know, more, like people are like, how did you have time to do that? You're like, well, we didn't sit on a phone for 8 hours a day. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you have to. We even have people, employees, we're like, dude, you can't be on your phone. And then I'm there in the kitchen, I'm like, thinking about it the other day, I'm like, dude, I couldn't even answer my phone if I wanted to. I couldn't take a drink of water or go to the bathroom for 4 hours because it was so busy.
I had to run in here because I didn't have time to pee.
Right? And it's like, we were working so hard. I'm like, how do these guys even have a time to get on their phone? I couldn't understand.
So is that the answer though? Keep
No.
Busy enough?
No, because the answer right now, there isn't an answer. We need to work towards an answer because there's too much layers that we need to start peeling back.
Well, there's problems
right?
at the top and there's problems at the
Yeah,
bottom.
There's not,
And
yes, if people
there's problems in the middle.
could put their phones down, they could start with that, right? But most people nowadays will not know where to go or have a direction if they don't have their phone, right? I grew up here. I still use Google Maps to get to somewhere, like, or
Yeah, no,
Apple
I'm not
Maps.
saying the phones
Don't
are-
laugh at me. It's true. I always get lost.
Yeah, and I don't want to
So-
say, oh, it's this fault and there's a scapegoat and a
there's
cop
not
out.
there's
Yeah,
not
so it's
one
beautiful for you
answer.
to say we don't have a real answer. I'm just saying that, wow, think of that. We've changed the way that we're interfacing with our responsibilities because of phones. So how do we work into the most efficient and effective type of systems to now account for the new norms that we have?
Yep.
And that's what it is. The phone should be able to help us gather people. Like, I'm trying to get people to come to the restaurant. We want to put it out on the phones. We want people to call us. We want
Our
people to talk to
podcast.
us. We're doing a bloody
Turn on your podcast on the
Running
freaking
on
my
the
phone.
phone.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
No, and see, that's what I'm
Seriously,
saying. It's
mate.
not the answer, dude. We can't, we got our
So,
podcast.
what we're saying is it's about that interface and how do we approach that interface of chores, work to be done, living with nature
How many?
to
But
get our
the thing
resources.
is, like, how many things that are just slap us in the face? Like, wake up, though. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, if it's the phone that is really distracting, or social media, or the TV, or whatever is distracting us, like, how do we snap people out of it? Because there's so many warnings, and so many
Well, do you want to eat a
face.
food that's good for your body, or do you want to eat a food that's going to give you cancer? Like,
about the
those are the
fact-
question marks you have to start figuring out.
How
And you
about
have to
the
stop
fact-
going for the cancer food.
You know what I've noticed? So we've never had a crow population like we have in North County. I saw a lot of them in Morro Bay yesterday. Lot of crow population.
Crows, animals.
Animal, birds,
Oh, dude.
birds, right?
They were all over our excavation. Every day I've been digging, they're like right there all of a sudden. And
There
you're right,
are
there's
crows,
a lot more.
and I'm noticing a raptor decrease in population. You know why? Because crows eat their eggs and they attack.
They fight each other, yeah.
But
a
why
lot.
do they? Because crows are here because, what does the Native Americans say about crow? The crow comes in when there's an imbalance, when there's a negative imbalance, right? That is what Native Americans say. All of us that know.
That's what they're called a murder. They just clean
They
the
do.
house. Yeah.
They're a scavenger bird, but they also, because we have too much of an imbalance of trash. Mm-hmm. There's too much of us not taking care of things. Every bit of nature, you said it in the beginning, every bit of nature is warning us. It's telling us. Do I think we're going to have a...
Our own bodies are telling us. We are nature. Our bodies are saying, don't do this anymore.
How many people, I'm just going to say it, how many people my age, in their 50s, that have passed away? How many people that I know in my age that have had heart attacks?
Yeah.
What
we're
the
all on a
heck is
path.
going on?
Yeah.
Enough, people. Wake up. Take a step back. Look around you. Start trying to live simple. Stop trying to chase stuff. Get rid of the drama. Who cares? Like, honestly, there's things going on in my life right now that I want to cry. But at the same time, do I have time to cry? Do I have time to like go, I'm not going to tell her what she wants to hear because she's got to figure this out.
Yeah.
I got to keep things moving because if I stop, what happens?
Yeah. You got to laugh just to keep from crying, or else, that doesn't always help. I mean, sometimes, sure, that's the same thing with protesting. It's like, I really don't want to know what you're against.
Tell me what
makes
you're
you
for.
start. Tell me what you're for, right? And so if we do that together.
Well, such and such told me I should show up here because I've asked that. I don't know how many times do I ask that to people, and I get, well, I heard on, or I read on, or I saw on, or such and such told me. And I'll be honest with you, I've had it where people was like, well, Melanie, you told me. I'm like, let me explain, because you got bits. You didn't get the roundabout picture because if I gave you a bit, I gave you a seed to
plant. A lot of people take a little bit of your information and then they're like, it didn't work. I'm like, because you didn't do the other 2 parts of information that I gave you. You listened to 1 out of 3 and you got 1/3 of what you're supposed to get.
Well, that's the
thing, or it didn't work at all because of that.
Regenerative act. Somebody was asking me about, am I for or against regenerative act? And I did exactly what I just did right now because I giggled. So I'm like, you realize I've been like 100% biodynamic without a label. Biodynamic farmer since I began. Everything is about a holistic approach.
Been doing it before the name
about the
was for
symbiotic
it.
system. I understand the energetic pulses of a cow horn. Okay, a female milking cow horn. Okay, I get it. But at the same time, do I go out and say, "Oh, I'm this" all the time? No, I explain that to just explain to you. When you say,
use your animals to do things.
Am I for or against regenerative agriculture? And I said, I've been living regeneratively my whole life, right? I've tried my hardest to take very good care of my body and and making choices in my lifestyle. Because what did I always want in my life? I wanted children. And that's all I ever wanted. So I made sure that I took care of my body because I wanted healthy children. My worst fear was having a sick child. But it was also too, yes, I fell in love with my high school sweetheart and he is amazing. But it was also like the agreement to make a marriage and a child was because of how healthy we both were. How much of an enjoyment I knew we would have having those children, right? But it hasn't been easy. It's always work. It's always ups and downs. We have peaks and then we have valleys.
But you looked at what your inputs are and knowing that you wanted to have good inputs to get outputs because that's what farmers do.
Regenerating the next system or the next cycle of my life.
Well, seeing it all the way through. Exactly. And that's where people, I think maybe that's where a lot of this disconnect is for taking accountability is people don't know what the systems take. They're like, oh, I know eggs from the backyard are good, but I don't know what it means to make eggs in the backyard, or what does it mean to make eggs in a factory? What does it mean to make eggs, in a free range, in a pasture? So people just have this huge disconnect in the cycle. So they're not understanding what are those, triple bottom line costs again. And I think that's where we have to just evaluate, and people could say, what is the, dollars and cents economic cost of that? What is the environmental impact, plus or minus to that? What is the social benefit or
I think that
negative
goes back
to that?
The whole concept of free is too expensive too. Is because when people ask what the cost of something is, it's in a sense of what is the value of it regenerating something of purpose in your life. Right? It's not about what it costs, but what is it going to do for you? Like I'm that person
well, it can
that's going to
stack
say
functions and have better
I don't
costs.
like Walmart, but have I said I don't shop there? No, I try to avoid that place like the plague because it's against what I believe in. But I also understand the purpose of why it's here. That you cannot deny the supply and demand chain that Walmart has fulfilled. Okay. Would I want that for our society? No, but it's here, and you can't knock it because people support it, right? I choose not to, but that's also I want to regenerate my life, a regenerative agriculture. So I want to try to always put my money into things that are going to come back to me.
Yeah.
I don't want to put my money into something that is going to instantly leave me, like supporting shopping at a place like Trader Joe's.
Yeah, you shop at neighbor's business, that money's going to stay in the community. You shop at like a box store, the money's going out of the community immediately.
Exactly. People don't understand though.
So
also,
those choices are what people who are shopping and doing these things are not finding the accountability for,
Yeah.
or taking, those actions to lead to something. And so at the same time, they want to complain or do something to protest that they don't understand the
But you
process.
see what I'm saying? When
So where do
somebody
we
asks-
find a way to
when
teach
somebody
that?
asks me if I'm for or against regenerative agriculture, right? How can I say I'm for or against when everything that I've done, live, or stand by has been everything about regeneratively
Yeah.
coming back,
If
right?
they had
That's
any
what it
idea,
is.
they could see that those are the actions that you're taking. And so
Exactly.
there's a disconnect immediately. Like we said, they don't even realize that you've been doing regenerative farming since before there was a term for regenerative farming.
I was doing organic farming before there was a term.
Well, it's like
I was doing
permaculture,
I wasn't
you
doing
know.
biodynamic because that was done
Well-
or recognized by Waldorf Steiner.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like that's what I'm trying to say to people. It's like I love this whole movement of regenerative, right? Because we're talking differently. But what's crazing me is that all these industrial, and I say industrial because it sounds like
Big businesses.
But it's not, because I'm watching people that have said, "Oh, Melanie, I do it all naturally." But yeah, I went to Home Depot and I bought my Miracle Grow potting soil. But they do it naturally, right? You know what I mean? But
That's a disconnect again to what means what.
But Josh,
There's not.
look at people. Oh,
I don't
well,
know.
it was more affordable. Affordable to what? What are you comparing that to? Because I know what you needed, you can't find. But instead of going out and buying something, why didn't you look at what you already had and regeneratively make that work?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like instead of people
Building soil, putting calcium,
People
all
want to
that.
think our soils here are hard and clay, but they don't realize that clay is a bunch of stored up nutrients with no oxygen. The moment you start working it, it actually translates exactly what it needs and when it needs it. It is not
That's a
something
good
that you
point.
just look at and it's dirt and you just discard it and go buy something that is filled with biosolids, filled with chemicals, filled with horrible things that then you killed anything that was good
Yeah.
by putting that in the soil. Yes, you might have put it in a wine barrel or a raised bed, but guess what? Those chemicals still leach into that clay soil. And guess what? You just destroyed it for the next couple of generations.
Yeah, well, really, and calling it dirt means that it's like inert,
It's
but it's soil,
dead.
which is living.
Soil
And
is
so
alive.
When you're adding something to that, it's like, okay, I have a clay soil, which means I need to add organic matter to get aeration, to
But
get
people
something
don't even know what
that
organic
it's lacking.
matter is.
Well, I think that people are going to have to find out real quick, like if they want to continue to have, healthy foods or things that are sustaining them and their families and certain costs, people are going to have to learn stuff.
Customer here.
What are we supposed to do? I mean,
Because
how do we get that
The new
out?
marketing term is
Yeah.
regenerative agriculture,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
A customer walked in and I said, well, naturally, if you, make your own compost and you're making sure that it's a blend of different things and adding the organic material back into your soil won't have to work against you. It's going to take what you've given it and add bonus to what you're trying to do,
It's
right?
going to start networking.
Does that qualify as being regenerative? That's literally what I got asked. Because do you see what I'm saying? Like,
So they don't
you
know
see-
their side of the food
because
web
you
cycle.
see what's happened. Marketing. We have an administration that is talking about regenerative ag. Money is now going to regenerative ag. But the funny thing about this is that all that money is going to the industrial, the chemical use, or getting people off of fertilizer. Why do they want off of fertilizer right now? Because they can't afford it. But it's not because if it gets cheap again, guess who's going to start using it again? But the thing
In the
is,
20s, they were
act
fighting to not go on
They
it.
act like what they've been doing for the last 25, 35 years is a light switch. I'm going to fix it because I'm just going to start calling it regenerative and I'm going to start doing this. Like, people don't understand, like, it's not, you can't just go regenerative. You can't just go organically or biodynamically. It is an investment into a lifestyle,
Processing,
into the
yeah.
agricultural system
yeah.
that you are trying
That
to
most
do.
people don't understand,
And that
you're
is
right.
where
Unless they're living it and
I
doing
just had
it.
a light bulb go off.
Yeah.
That is where my struggle has become, guys. Why I want to cry. You know why I want to cry? Because people don't understand why you can be erratic and sporadic and go, I'm done, and walk off. But when you do that, when you're invested with me, and what is so hard with me is because I am so grounded into what we're doing, because it's not just, you can't just walk away from what we've done. You can't just think that I'm going to walk away from it and then tomorrow I'm going to be able to do it again.
What are your 200 chickens going to do? What are your, few emus going to do? Yeah, there's a system there that people don't see that side enough or understand or appreciate that in any way.
But they want.
We're getting more city folks here.
What they think is what they've been told. They do not know. They only know what they have been told.
Yeah.
And that, again, it's like, what happened to us being free thinkers? What happened to us stop following or stop enabling?
Yeah.
Be free.
You're talking a lot of decades, that's been stacked on each other. And that's kind of what we're having right now.
You have a bunch
in the administration,
of spoiled
people
brats.
that are trying, to just
Including
follow
me.
the minimum. And it's going to turn into idiocracy is essentially what this is going towards, with Mike Judge. And it's like they were trying to grow plants with Gatorade. And luckily, one person showed up that had been from the past and said, wait, you're supposed to use water. And they're like, the stuff from toilets? And so, it could get that bad where we could forget how to grow food and then the whole society is going to be, looking at collapse. But we have to undo the traditions, I think, in this country and our culture that it started in the 1930s. 1920s was sort of the cutoff of when we stopped using organic agriculture, when we started going to DuPont Chemical, when we outlawed hemp, when we did things that were starting to not invest into a land. Use that was seasonal and returned with what was viable for that region. And so if people don't start understanding where they live, that's what I like to say. It's like, it doesn't matter who you are anymore. It matters where you are. Mm-hmm. If you're going to be part of a system, part of an ecosystem, part of, the people culture there, you have to look all the way back to what was, started. And that place by the first peoples.
Yeah. And the problem also too is like, it's starting over again is also I want to just address this. Like, why has it become this societal thing that it's like, let's just up and leave because this has become too hard. Let's just up and and that's, again, it's like, we got to stop that thinking too, that the grass is greener always on the other side.
Yeah.
Right?
That's why I got so mad about people wanting to leave California the other day, because I was like, and then what? Go to somewhere else and do the same thing and complain about it? Yeah. Or do you fight for the place that you're in because you love it and you want to be part of it? And if you don't, go to a place you want to love and be part of.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, this is what I'm explaining, like with the whole regenerative thing. It's like, if you want something, support it. If you don't want it, and I'm going to be honest,
don't support it.
I'm going to put out here, I'm going to put it out because I kind of put some stuff out on social media and then people are like, oh, Building, we love you. But at the same time, being in that store over there, not here anymore, over there.
People don't, store, yeah.
But Josh, how many people in the last couple months have been walking in going, oh my God, Melanie, when did you do this? 3 years ago, guys. It's been that long since I've been here. I'm like, yeah, thanks for supporting me. Right? Like, but again, it's like, I can't, oh my God, Melanie, I'm so grateful for you're here. Well, do you have this, this, and this? I'm like, no, I stopped growing it because you stopped buying it. I'm not going to grow something. I'm not going to just do something just because.
Yeah, you have a real symbiotic relationship on the scale that you're at, right, to this.
Well, why are they here? Because you can't find it anywhere else. Why are they here? Because, yes.
They are your contract, bro. You guys are my contract.
You can get it.
My neighbors.
You can get something similar,
yeah.
But it doesn't produce.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. I got told on Saturday when I'm standing here that he didn't come and buy tomatoes for me last year because the year before my tomato plants produced so much he didn't know what to do with. So he's
scared of you.
He was afraid of my
She's
plants.
She's gonna make me get too many tomatoes.
I'm like, oh, so like, what does that mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you got too many. He's like, I honestly.
He just finished eating them all.
Felt guilty about throwing them away. Why would you throw them away? Give them away.
Can them.
Do
Dude,
something.
freeze them. Like, you can make it work.
He's grown tomatoes his whole life and has never had tomatoes that had produced that well. And I'm like, well, he had a good start. That's all it is. I'm not anything special. I just put that love into it. And this is where it's not about poor me or any of this. This is what I'm just, that is an example of what is happening in today's society.
To you and your position, yeah.
But everyone, think about this.
No, but I mean, from your position and point of view.
So caught up in what? Can we pinpoint, why are we so distracted? Why is infrastructure failing? Why are people so disconnected? Why are we paying as much as we're paying for living things? But yet, the example is.
So what's the first step? If somebody came up to you and heard this podcast, they're going to go, Melanie, Josh, what is the first step?
Look at and fix their own home, and I will be willing to help. I will come and consult, and I would help. any way that we can to figure out how they can supplement their own food, how they can get creative and carry and stretch whatever fresh material that they have, fresh food in their home, and stretch it out. How can we get our true value of one thing that we bought? Understanding how powerful your purchase dollar is. Where are you putting your dollar? Don't think, oh, it's more convenient. I don't have the finances that I once have, so I have to go to the dollar stores or I have to go to Walmart. Because what are you really buying? Are you buying health? Are you buying substance? Are you buying something of value that is going to regenerate your life?
Well, it's so simple right there. So let me say this. Like, say you bought a whole chicken from Melanie. People are eating that whole chicken. Are they taking the bones and making a bone stock? Are they doing, their own stocks from there? Or are they things thrown out? So the consumers right now are like, I'm poor. And it's like, you just threw half this meal away.
I'm poor, walking around with a coffee and a cell phone. I'm poor.
So, I'm just saying that's sort of a great example of like people aren't necessarily taking the, starts or the seeds and then growing their vegetables and then growing the chicken and then harvesting the chicken and then using the chicken meat and then using the chicken bones and using the chicken feet.
You're terrifying him.
And so I just want to say to that point though that like that's where we start with the zone 0, which is yourself and your body. So talking about what you put in your body and then your home. So your home, your family, your gardens, and then your neighborhood, and then your community. And so if you really started at 0, hopefully we can find ways that people want to get, a connection point back.
Go for it. Say it.
From somebody going a complete 180, I think the best answer is to watch the show and really start about these things.
That's an obvious one.
That's
I
obvious.
like that, Miguel.
He's like, because
watch the show. We're going to solve your problems.
That whole chicken.
We're solving all your problems.
That's why.
Whole chicken's next.
And
but those are just one little example I was just thinking about. If someone bought meat from you, they probably aren't necessarily thinking that they have a whole other product right in that carcass. But grandmas do think that way.
What I'm trying to get that is they need to put themselves in an uncomfortable position, in an uncomfortable spot, even if it's just watching the show.
They probably are in an uncomfortable spot. That's why they're complaining.
I feel like that's the first step. Because everything you guys talked about, as soon as like they feel uncomfortable, they're gonna flip the channel.
That's where our distractions are coming into play, right? They're like, oh, I don't have to go vote because it's going to be hard.
Why am I going to vote?
Why do I vote for that? Because it's hard. Why would I show up to the meeting? Because it's too hard today to do that.
Because their purchasing power is more powerful than their vote. I never thought I would say that, but it's true in this society. You have to vote. Do not vote. But your purchasing
your dollar votes.
That's what I crack up, because a couple of days ago I was in a group and they were very one-sided. And I literally, all I did was go, okay, so what you are talking about, let me tell you who the owner is and what you guys are avid about supporting. And it was literally everything they were against. I don't think they'll probably ever talk to me again, but I don't care. Because it was like, they were so, this person is horrible, this person is horrible. And I'm like, well, then why are you still fueling money into his lifestyle?
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, let me show you how.
Is hard,
It was crazy because they didn't realize that all of them, and they all
the money,
products.
like I said, goes down the same funnels. Like this company's owned by that company, owned by that company.
That funneled right back into everything that they were saying they disliked. And I'm like, guys, and I'm not anything special. It's not hard to actually really look. Don't just read Facebook.
Well, you recognize the pattern, and how can more people recognize these patterns and understand? Because if they want to, vote with their dollars, then they really have to think about divesting from those groups. They're like, oh, well, I'm going to use this company. A lot of companies just got sold out. Like even if they have a label, and it's like, oh, this is all used to be made out of beeswax. And it's like, well, that beeswax company was bought by the big, health company that now makes it.
One lady came up to me and was like, Melanie, these people are not going to want to do that. But I'm a part of this group and I don't want them to get upset with me. But I want to learn because I really want to take responsibility for my own and whether how I vote or not. And she goes, but it's crazy. I don't understand why these people want to complain and they this, that, and everything else. And I said, let me explain something to you. All of these people, if they don't complain, they don't have their jobs. Look at what they do for a living. If they don't have the government that is in place today, they will not have their jobs. So what you're trying to do is live simple. But understand, you can't be a part of a group that is going against exactly what you're asking for. So don't just settle. Understand who your neighbors are. Understand who the people that you spend time with. Where's their money? If you're going to learn from them,
Yeah.
Where are their money from? And I'm like, if we vote differently, guess what? Your neighbor right there, the one that I was referring to, would not have an income of $330,000 a year to do what? Give me one thing her organization that she's making that money from. Give me one thing that organization has done in the last 10 years, but yet she's still making $330,000 a year. What job would you have if you're not performing and you're not producing and you're not being held accountable? Would you still be able to get a paycheck other than government or a nonprofit? Government.
Yeah, there's a lot
All right.
of fat there.
We're out.
Wow. Well,
On to May.
until next time, huh?
Yes, and we are onward to new change possibly after this week. So we will talk soon. Take care.
See you.